To begin, open Packet Tracer. We will now create a topology with 3 routers, 3 switches and 3 PCs and implement IPv6 on all devices and then configure static and default routes amongst the routers. To begin, we're going to add 3 2811 routers. We've got to use the 2811s because they do support IPv6. And we will name them R1, R2, and R3. We will add a switch to each router. And we will name them S1, S2, S3. Finally, we will add PCs to each router. And we will name them PC 1, 2, 3. So this will be PC 3. This will be PC 2. This will be PC 1. We will now add the wide area network card interfaces to the routers. So we go to the physical, turn the router off, then add a single WIC 1 tree to this router and boot him back up. We do the same thing here. Shut him down. Add a single WIC 1T to this router and bring him back up. And on this router we will have to add 2 of them, since it connects to routers 1 and router 3. So we will insert 2 wide area network cards into this router, then bring him back up. We will now create the connections between the devices. To begin with, we will make the Ethernet connections from the routers, first Ethernet port, to the switches, first Ethernet port, then from the PC Ethernet port to the switches, second Ethernet port. We repeat this. Then we will make the wide area connections. We will provide clocking on routers 1 and router 3. When we hover over the connections, we see that the timing device is on the interface of router 1 and router 3. We will now assign the IPv6 addresses to the computers. assign the IPv6 address for the router as the gateway. We will verify this configuration with the IPv6 config command. We repeat these steps on PC2. And again, we will verify this with the IPv6 command. And again, we will verify this with the IPv6 config command. Next, we will assign IPv6 addresses to the routers, interfaces, and then open them up. We begin with router 1, go to the CLI, enable config t, then we give him his name, R1. We will disable DNS in case we mistype a command we do not wish to be held ransom. Next, we go into the interface F0/0 and assign it an IPv6. But before we can do this, we have to actually enable IPv6 on the router. So the command is IPv6 unicast-routing. Then we can assign IPv6 addresses to the interface. And we open the interface up. We're going to do the same now on router 2. And finally, on router 3, we will now test connectivity from the PCs to the routers by pinging them. So we go to PC1 and ping its gateway, which of course is the router. And we have communication. I'll do the same on router 2. And we have communication between the router and the PC. One more time. All is well at this point with regard to the Ethernet connections. Next we will configure IPv6 addresses to the wide area connections. We hover over this connection to see how they are connected. And we see on router 1 it's S0/2/0 connected to router 2's S0/2/0. So we're going to pick that interface. We're going to assign an IPv6 address to it. We assign timing to it, and we open it up. Now we're going to repeat these steps on router 2. And we will try to ping router 1 from router 2 on its serial interface. And we have communication. We'll do the same on router 1. And we have good communication. Do the same for the connection between router 2 and router 3. So we will hover over this connection to see how they are connected, and it's S0/2/0 on router 3 to S0/0/0 on router 2. So here we go. Again, we will place the timing on this router, open the interface up, and now we will connect the corresponding interface on router 2. And open it up. We will now ping router 3. There we go. And we will now do the same from router 3. we have communications between routers 2 and 3. The next step is to configure static routes on routers 1, 2, and 3. On router 1, we will have to configure a route to this network, to this network, and to this network. On router 3, we will have to configure a route to this network, to this network, and to this network. And on router 2, we're going to have to configure 2 routes, one to this network and one to this network. So we will go to router 1, and the command is IPv6 route. Then the network address we wish to route to. This is db8 :1 :2 and then :/64. That's a network address. And then the next hop router's address is 2001 db8 :1 :A001 :2. Then we use the up arrow key, and this is the route to the network attached to router 3. And finally, with the up arrow key, we're going to create a route to the connection between routers 2 and 3. And the final command is a default route, and that is typically a : :/0. And again, this goes to the next hop router interface. Concludes the configuration of routes on router 1. We're going to back this up to the startup configuration so that we don't lose this configuration. Next, we will configure static routes on router 3. The up arrow key for the network attached to router 2. We use the up arrow key and configure the route that connects routers 1 and 2. And last, we will configure a default route. Again, we will back this configuration up with the copy run start command. Finally, we will place 2 routes on router 2. We will use the up arrow key to configure a route to the network attached to router 3. And on this router we cannot configure a default route since it has multiple interfaces that connect across the WAN, so therefore we cannot enable a default route. Again, we will back this up. With the copy run start, we will say show IP route command. And of course it doesn't show us anything. So at this point, we're going to test this. So we're going to ping from PC3 to a PC1 and see if it routes. There we are. And we're going to do the reverse. Ping from PC1 to PC3. And finally we can ping PC2. And that shows that we have a sound static route configuration on all three routers.